Have we gotten to a point where we have all the camera we need for photography, and everything else is just more for bells and whistles? Do you believe that you need your camera to take photos with to have 8K video, or is that overkill? Do you want your video camera to be able to take, high resolution 61 megapixel photos? I don't know. I think with everything coming out now in the middle of latter end of 2020, besides it being a really horrible year, it's just the fact that all the cameras that have been coming out lately have been giving you the world. They give you 8K recording, they give you 4K at 120p. All these things that you want if you're a video guy. But I think a long time ago, photography wise, other than upping the resolution on your LCD, upping the resolution on your EVF, I think photography, you really can't produce better images than you're getting right now. I'm sure a year from now, some camera manufacturer will prove me wrong and they'll come up with even crispier, sharper photos. But I think with the 24 megapixels lens cameras, 26 megapixel cameras, and maybe even 20 with the R6, we'll see. I think you might have all you need for photography. I don't subscribe to give me a brand new camera every year, but I don't think photographers are getting brand new cameras every year. I think videographers are getting a new camera every year. As the 4K technology, 8K technology, 6K technology advances, becomes easier to work with, easier to shrink down and modify the heat output, the new cameras are coming out. I know the older cameras, besides having a temperature cutoff because they would get too hot, they also had a time limit where you had to worry about how much time you could record, and that was due to some kind of tax that was imposed on certain things. So it was really a rule that if your camera recorded over a certain amount of minutes, you'd fall into a certain tariff / taxing bracket, which a lot of these camera companies didn't want to deal with. And I could be just making that up. This is just something I watched on YouTube, so that only makes me YouTube smart, and you know how that is. So I mean, you're listening to me, so anyway. So I think besides changing cameras to no longer have a recording time limit, you got to a point where photography wise, the A7 III is still an amazing photography camera at 24 megapixels. The X-T3, superiorly amazing crop sensor camera, and that has 26 megapixel. I just don't see the need that we as a society need to keep pumping out a new camera every day just to say we're doing that. It's like smartphones. I love the OnePlus company. OnePlus came out years ago, 2014, 15, and revolutionized. No, probably 2012. I don't know. Either way, look it up yourself. I'm not Google. The OnePlus company came out years ago with a $200 phone in a world of $800 phones and said they were going to change the world. So they did change the world. And then when Apple started releasing their S series, then OnePlus decided that they were going to go on a 2 phone a year release cycle. So if they release the OnePlus 6 months later, they released the OnePlus 6T. And I think that was a really good idea for a phone. If you want the latest and greatest phone, you're just 6 months away from the most up-to-date, spec-rich phone. But, you know, if you're the consumer who buys the OnePlus 6, you're kind of upset that the features that are included in the OnePlus 6T later that same year, you don't have access to. But that's not the same thing for cameras. That's for cell phones. You know, cameras, a lot of the bells and whistles photographers don't need. We want them sometimes, but I think camera makers have focused so much on the hybrid shooter and really focus on the video side of the hybrid shooter that it's just like, it's just enough with the new cameras. I'm old school myself. I know a few fellow photographers who are just like me, and touch screens on the back of the camera, LCD, not necessary. I prefer to joystick my focus and stuff like that. That's me, because, you know, maybe just because I've never tried it long enough to get used to it, but it just doesn't seem natural. And of course, everything in life as it first becomes available doesn't seem natural, and becomes natural with time and use. But that's just my opinion. I don't think anything that's on the X-T4 is an aim for me. I'm not a videographer, so it's a great camera. The images are still going to be just as great as the X-T3 because they're sharing the same sensor. Now, if you're coming from the X-T2, X-T1, I can see you jumping onto the X-T4. But I would really recommend just sticking with the X-T3. I went out this morning for a shoot. I took my X-T3, which I love, and that's a Viltrox 23mm lens on there. Omar let me borrow, and I took out my Sony. I said, let me take the old girl out for some fun and just shoot, just have fun with it. But anyway, what do you think? Do you think I'm just an old cranky man in a park in my car, drinking coffee, finishing his breakfast after an early morning shoot, and just because of lack of sleep, I'm kind of cranky about this whole thing? Or do you think photographers are getting the short end of the stick because we're being forced to buy all these cameras that are more video centric? I mean, I don't know what to do. I think if you don't include video in a camera, then you're definitely crippling that camera. But stop making my photo camera a video camera. I just find a perfect balance. Don't give me like the A7S III with 12 megapixels and everything amazing for video. I don't remember enough of the specs to break it down for you, but obviously the A7S III isn't for me. All right, I'm gonna re-wrap it up because I wrapped it up and then I got started on another tangent. Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. Cranky old Mo just sitting in his car complaining. Until next time, have a good one.